It was a summer day in Bennington when police say they spotted their guy.
It's not all about stopping a car for speeding and just writing a ticket and sending them on the way. We train our officers to look beyond the motor vehicle stop.
But depending on who you speak to, what followed was either good police work or officers breaking the law.
So I believe that race was a significant factor in this case.
Civil rights attorney Robert Appel is talking about Shamel Alexander. He assisted in his case. 3 years ago, the then 25-year-old Alexander was arrested with more than 400 bags of heroin when he was a passenger in a cab traveling from Albany, New York into Bennington.
There were a lot of inconsistencies in what was taking place, which builds the reasonable suspicion into the probable cause that led this officer to believe that there was something going on that needed to be investigated further.
A detective saw the taxi and alerted another officer, saying, quote, "It would be a good stop if you could find him doing something wrong." They nabbed the taxi for a GPS in the windshield. Police were on the hunt for a suspected drug dealer named Sizzle, a heavy-set black man, and Shamel fit the description.
The officer in this case also had information from someone that was assigned to the drug task force that a black individual was bringing narcotics into Bennington. So they built off of that.
Alexander was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but just 3 years later, he's a free man. In what advocates describe as an unprecedented move, the Vermont Supreme Court reversed the conviction. The court says the extended search was unconstitutional and that the description police had to go on could have fit any black man. Chief Paul Doucette maintains it was a good stop.
At times, the court really ties the hands of law enforcement officers to be able to do their job effectively. And I think that this is one of those cases.
What police are doing is not looking at the individual and what particular concerns they have about that person's individual behavior, but they're engaging in what's commonly known as profiling.
Was Shamel Alexander racially profiled?
Racial profiling does not go on within this agency, and I wouldn't allow it. And this is not what happened here.
Do you think that the Bennington Police Department can learn anything from this decision?
I don't see us making any changes here, Eva.
There is little recent data available, but ACLU and UVM studies from 2010 to 2011 show black men are twice as likely to be stopped by police as are white drivers in the state's largest city, as well as by Vermont State Police. They are also twice as likely to be searched by the police. In Bennington, of the 4,419 police stops between 2014 and 2016, 129 people were black. Blacks are stopped at double their share of the state population and searched at a rate 5 times that of white drivers in Bennington. During this time period, 2.2% of white drivers were searched, compared to 10.1% of black drivers.
Because of this mindset, this implicit bias, officers tend to think or tend to believe and act on this that black and brown faces are more likely to be committing crimes.
Chief Doucette says he depends on the district court to be tough on drug dealers and that this Supreme Court decision is another example of state entities working against the interests of the police and the community they serve.
We seem to be going it alone.